Guten Tag.
Hello.
Hi, Michael.
Liam.
Hi, Michael.
Wow. That's the
Why?
announcement. Took quite
Why?
some
What's happened? What's happened? What have I missed?
time. Oh, you already grabbed the Dusty Springfield.
Yes.
Okay, let's of course get right into it. But before we get into it, tomorrow evening, 3 hours from now, 3 hours from now, I will also have a live stream with Chad Kasem here on the channel.
Oh,
So
good,
he will answer all the questions. Although,
yeah, look forward to that.
yeah. Okay, let's get into it. Nadine, you got the announcement. You saw the announcement. You read the announcement. Soul Disco Queen. What's your take on it?
I was so excited, honestly, because he got some criticism in the couple of weeks because of the choices he made, and I thought, wow, I never thought about that he would do titles like Genesis, Bad Company, and of course, for me as a soul person, Otis Redding, Wilson Pickett, Donny Hathaway, Roberta Flack. I was like, wow, and I think I need to have them all. So
Okay, that's a surprise. That's a
I
surprise.
love Bad Company. I love Bad Company, and what you have to consider here in Europe, it's not easy to get clean Phil Collins or Genesis records. This is you find them in the dollar bin, but they look like trash. So that's just great news.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and yeah, come on, Liam, you prog nerd that you are.
Well, Michael, you know I've been saying this to you for a couple of years now. I've been waiting, and when you've had Chad on one of your shows, I've said, Chad, when are you going to do Genesis? When are you going to do Yes? And he said, okay, take it easy. You know, it might happen. It might. So it's so refreshing to get some of these titles, definitely. From Yes, Genesis, as Nadine said, Bad Company. I mean, Bad Company, that's so refreshing to have them titles. Ryan K. Smith is doing them. That's just going to be amazing. And it looks like Chris Bellman is doing the Yes and the Genesis by the sound. So, and he's got a good experience with doing Yes records. So it's, you know, so excited. I mean, I've been waiting for this. But I think it brings in the casual fan into Analog Productions, the casual fan now. Because I messaged my friend Simon, and Simon is a casual fan. And he's going, wow, this is amazing. So there's records that he will actually go for where he would never bother with the audiophile. So I think it's absolutely fantastic news. So I'm so happy.
Hey, Thomas, welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Hello to Denmark. What you saw the news? You got the newsletter? You saw some of the titles already, Thomas? You had the time?
No, I haven't seen the titles, but that was what I was really curious about, because I looked into the Atlantic and I can see there's like 73,000 releases on the Atlantic.
Quite some. Quite some.
So what do you pick if you have the chance?
I have a list here. We go through titles, but I think for the beginning, I think I want to take Liam's and Nadine's take, because there has been quite some, let's say, criticism about title choices in general when it comes to audiophile reissues. And now that we get those, Phil Collins, Genesis, you named it. We get Alice Cooper. We get In Excess.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't seen the In Excess one. I'm surprised. Yeah, I haven't seen
it. That is such a step into a new direction, that this is really quite exciting. And Stone Temple Pilots, if I'm not mistaken. This is unbelievable. Yeah, Stone Temple Pilots. I mean, hey, as an analog production, 45 RPM audiophile version. I mean, that's lovely and exciting.
And it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think exactly the right way to go. And of course, and that's also important, due to this vast amount of titles, we also see the stuff that we are used to, and that so many people do, like the Coltrane's, the Ray Charles, Mingus, exciting, exactly. Amongst the 3 titles that comes out at the 6th of October is one Mingus. It's the Blues and Roots, an amazing sounding, beautiful jazz album. I mean, wow, wow, wow. Exactly, David Lawrence. This is such a surprise. I mean, Analog Production does Velvet Underground Loaded. Quite something. Quite something.
When will you be getting the records in your shop, Michael? Do you know that already?
Yes, I will know that exactly. They are at the shop. The 3 titles that comes out that comes out in October are at the shop. And and then we will add them now within the next days. I mean, adding all those products is quite something, but yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, somebody asked, I think Christopher, about the Dusty Springfield, and I'm asking myself also, because Chet put that out on 45. It's for me the best version. The best version of Dusty's album. The multi-tracks are lost, but the 2 tracks are still there. So I will buy the other one as well, which comes out, because I think it will be a different mastering. So, but we will see. I will buy it and compare it. But I was so happy. Dusty Springfield can't be praised enough, especially with that album.
Yeah, and we talked about the Genesis. We can go deeper in them, of course, but especially for you, Nadine, you said so often, there are so few soul funk albums when it comes to Audiophile 45 reissues. Hey, must be the day today, right?
Yes, in some cases. Luckily, the Atlantic records been reissued before. But hardly as 45, and some of them were getting the audiophile treatment. For example, today I picked up a soul record also from Atlantic, from Prince Philip Mitchell. I don't think that this one is getting a reissue, and I don't think it will be in this, but there are so many records out there. But I think it's great to have at least some soul records, especially Aretha Franklin. If you want to have the original, they are expensive because they're a tone apart. So getting a clean copy of them is difficult. And now having them as 45s, since I got my new turntable, I have a totally different approach of what I hear. And so it will be stunning. I can't wait.
Good question, Kevin, because Chet answered that question in his video. I think you all should go later on to if you haven't already, to Analog Production YouTube channel and see what he's saying. And he stated that every record will be from the analog tapes whenever possible. Of course, it's not possible when there is none. But as we know, Chet, but he will be told, like always, and that's beautiful. He will be always open and honest about it. But for example, the first 3 seems to be all analog, and hey, wow. Whenever possible, you know how he handles this stuff.
Yeah. Is there any Gabriel solo albums in there, Mike?
I haven't seen one. No, not that there is one announced. No. Not on a solo album. We will also see, by the way, and I think Liam, you will love that too. We will see some Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, that's, as I say, that's new. To see Daylight Again, I think, is one of them. I love that album. It's not like a highly popular one, if you like, but I think it's a great album. So to see that, and then Trick of a Tail, that needs a good.
That needs,
needs doing, because there's not many. It's a great. It was recorded and produced great. Not many great pressings of it. I think Mopai had to go at it. But
wait a second, Christopher. No Gabriel yet. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, there's our next guest, Mr. George Borden. Welcome,
Hey, George.
George.
Hello,
Hello,
everybody.
everybody.
How are you, George?
I'm doing
I'm
great.
doing great.
Am I echoing?
Am I echoing?
Yeah.
You are echoing.
What have I done?
What have I done?
Remember the last time we had the same problem? You did something with your microphone and then it was gone.
Let me try one little thing.
Try
here.
one little thing here.
But we can talk. I think
Yeah.
when George says something, then he has the echo with his own voice, not with ours.
What
So
about
it's a good cross section of the Genesis because you've got Gabriel and then you have got the Phil Collins as well. So
I mean, Thomas Booth mentioned it already. What was it? 37,000 titles he had to choose from, and Chet said that in the video, if I remember correctly, that he tried to make a melange out of the best-selling, best-sounding records that are out there on the Atlantic label, and
that's why he's included the Yes album. You know, from the 80s, 90125, which is their best-selling album.
okay.
Which is 1983. But to have that on 2 times 45, I mean, that's unbelievable. To think you would get that. And it's a great sounding record. The German one, Master Disc RL, is amazing. You know, that's the best version I've heard of that. But, you know, unusual title to pick, but at the same time, it's 80s, yes, so it's a bit different.
What am I
What am I like now?
Still.
Nadine, Susan Miller, Michael, will you do a stream with Nadine about soul titles? About the soul titles would be awesome. Shall we do that on your channel?
Yes, sure. Once they have been released, that will be great. So we can share the information. Thanks for the idea.
No, David, I think the release date is the 6th of October, if I'm not mistaken. And those titles are the Charles Mingus Blues and Roots, Phil Collins Face Value, which is probably an unbelievable sounding album. In the Air Tonight, when the drums kicks in, oh my God.
Hello.
I have no idea.
And
What's going on.
self-titled.
Maybe, George, you have another tab open in your browser. Is that possible?
I don't.
No,
I don't have any.
I don't have any. I don't have YouTube open.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything.
I have no idea.
No idea here.
We love our technical problems, but usually we fix them.
Yeah,
Maybe you
dude, all the
close
time.
everything and come in again. Just restarting your and coming again. That
Let me
would
try
help.
that.
Try that.
That's so true, Justin Peters, and hello, Justin. If George has echoes, exactly, especially him who's such a technical knowledge. Thomas, what excites you the most so far from what you have heard? Which titles?
I collect the jazz from Atlantic, and I collect the soul stuff, like the 1200 series, 1300 series, 400, 1400 series, like the first 300 jazz records releases. And
the originals.
The soul series is 8,000 forward, where it's only soul releases. And if this one is coming, this is my favorite Atlantic record.
Show us. I haven't seen it yet. Wait, I'll make you bigger. I can't read. Headless Heroes of the Apocalypse. Okay, wow. Interesting. But I haven't read this title. George?
Hey, George.
I haven't seen it as well, but it's an amazing release on Atlantic.
Okay. When did it came out, Thomas?
Hello.
1971.
71, okay.
In 71, yeah. And it's release number 8281, like sold number 281. So there's a lot to dig into.
Yeah, of course there is, and imagine you have to choose out of all those titles, 70, 75 or whatever. Not that easy, right? Which one do you choose?
And
George,
you have to choose it out of a certain range, like different genres, not just jazz or blues. That's also if you're not so into that, that's difficult.
Yeah, and you have to satisfy so many people, and of course people will now say, oh, I am missing this title. What a missed opportunity. So sad, so sad.
And I think it's a good timing because a lot of those releases where you could buy for 5-10 euros 10 years ago, then they got up to like 20-30 euro, and now it's not easy to find them anymore. So I think it's a perfect timing to see them.
Yeah.
And we have so much request for all those titles. Yes, Phil Collins. For a selling point, it's amazing.
I'm thinking about in subscription, but we are not there yet. And if you order now within the next days, we can be sure that you get those QRP titles. I get the point. So, but just order them and then you have them. George, try something. Can you say something?
I'm switching over. Okay, so this sounds weird. I'm hearing that going. Coming. It sounds like through someone else's, but I don't even hear him.
Wait, Summer. I try to mute. Say now something.
Hello.
That's it. That was all right.
It's Thomas. Thomas is doing the echo with George. Okay. So you, Thomas. Okay, but now we have a solution. What can it be at Thomas' place, George? You have any idea?
Not having. Can you hear me now? Am I good now?
Perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
so thinking maybe he doesn't have echo cancellation on.
Can you turn your echo cancellation on, Thomas?
Yeah, because it was weird. I would
wait
that.
It's funny that it only happened to George.
I know. I don't understand that. Why, when George came on, it was all right with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but George has such a complicated system.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, now that we can hear you, George, what's your impression? What are your thoughts? Share it with us, please.
Oh, we're not on yet, right? We're still getting. Is this like the pre-show, or am I coming on to a live show?
You are already at the live show.
Oh well, hello everybody. I thought we were still figuring it out. Okay, so I think it's great. I think the fact that a large selection from a label that has put out so many great albums, and there's some that we still haven't even figured out if they're gonna which ones they're gonna be. So I'm totally pleased. I know that I saw already some ones that I want to get, and I think it's an awesome situation. That's my take on it. I was pleasantly surprised.
One second, I just wanted to tell Thomas how he can change it. Go to settings and then audio, and then you have echo, and just check that, and then you will have it, and then it should work. So sorry. Yeah. How is your take on the rock and funk and soul side of this release? I think those are the biggest surprises, right? When it comes to an announcement from Analog Production.
Still me?
Yes, still you.
Again, I think that people have been asking for diversification in the Analog Productions realm, and now you got it good. And so I have nothing to complain about here. I'm very happy to see Chad doing something like with that kind of scope. I think that those records, there's a lot of those records I think deserve that type of treatment. I think the price is right. Yeah. And it's funny because if I know a lot of people go, I don't like the 45 RPM, and sometimes I don't like it either if I'm just sort of casually listening. But if I'm sitting down and I'm really sitting between the speakers and I really want to hear as good as I can get it, I have no problem flipping a record because I'm looking at almost each song as an individual thing. What did they do here? What did they do here? And then and taking in the whole record is it's nice to have the highest resolution you possibly can of some really, really interesting titles to me.
I love that you just got into the 45 RPM discussion. Let's make this for the whole panel. Nadine, Liam, let's start with Nadine. What's your take on the 45 approach on those titles?
I'm not a big fan of 45s, but what I figured out, I did some comparisons with the Dusty Springfield and some other titles, and I think the step sound-wise, at least to my ears, is huge. So I have to decide, do I want to stand up after 2 or 3 tracks and change the side, or do I want to listen to 5 tracks and then change the side? But if you buy these records, I think you buy them also because they sound great. That's why they're done on 45s. So I think it's an audiophile release, but there are titles there I always wanted to have as the best possible sounding version. And if this is a 45, then take it, love it or leave it. But in this case, I love it. Wilson Pickett in 45, Donny Hathaway as 45, where you had never heard things before, done analog for $60 or whatever the price will be. That's for me, it's a no-brainer. And there are 2 titles in 1 month, so financially that's possible to do. So yeah, for me it's a no-brainer to do that, even if I'm not so into 45s, but with this I've been waiting for that.
Liam, your take on 45?
Yeah, I like both formats and always have done. And it was the Jeff Beck titles from Chad. That's where it went. They were just unbelievable, and that really changed my mind. If I had any doubts, I just was all in then on the 40. But I do think there'll be one title where we might see one side at 33. Simply because the track is 19 minutes long, so I can't see them splitting that. I was speaking to George about it as well. So I've got a feeling they might do that 33 for one side, and I hope they do. I hope they do in that case, because I don't think you can split an iconic track that is.
Yeah, I've made the experience with the vinyl where you have to change the sides during the song, and this is one of the can releases from the live concert, because the song is 48 minutes.
Oh, okay, that's okay. I understand that.
Yeah.
Gotta be done.
Thomas, what's your take on 45 RPM records?
I always loved it for DJing, because it came from when the 12 inches with the disco songs in the 70s, 80s. There's so good sound when you have a 45. And I love playing a lot of those tracks from Atlantic as a DJ in Aretha Franklin. So with the good sound, it's amazing to play this out.
Yeah, and I think that's of course the advantage when it comes to those 45s, that you have this amazing sounding records. And again, think about it. Now he has chosen, maybe also for the reasons Marius just has pointed out, that it's also maybe a question of the contract, because Atlantic will maybe do the 33 and a third, but imagine he would do them as a 33 and a third. So I think getting the best sounding versions out of those titles, that's what analog production stands for, and which is genuinely analog production's take on things, right? And no, I don't have a subscription yet, because I don't want to force things. I mean, you can order them and get them. For those who will get every title on my shop, I will think of something nice. Trust me on that one. but I don't want to give too much of an advantage. I don't want to have this pressure, buy it now and get all of them. Then you have, no, I'm not such a fan of this. But I will think of something because I get so many emails right now.
Yeah.
I see my email box is exploding with those kind of questions. I will get into it. But please don't forget, I don't know about this things weeks. I know about this very, very briefly, and this is a lot of work. 70 titles putting in, and we already have the first 3 on the website. I think we will have 3 years to go with this series, which is a wonderful thing. And please be a bit patient, but there will be something. I will think of something.
I'm gonna
unmute.
Wait,
me and
wait.
Thomas.
Okay,
Okay, so the thing about 45 RPM is the resolution increases greatly. And with a lot of those old club 12 inches, one of the other benefits about them was that when you only had, say, 5 or 6, 7 minutes on the side of a 12-inch running at 45, you could also make it really loud because you could use common spacing that guaranteed that you could make it as loud as the cutter could cut.
Okay.
But on the other side of it, the thing, let's remember this, there was a point where they fit Hey Jude onto a 7-inch at 45 RPM back in 68. And that was considered to be twice as long as they were willing to normally go. The secret is that you cut quieter, you might be able to fit, 15 minutes is pretty much is a comfortable place to be on the side. So if you're stretching it out and you can cut lower, but you're using quieter vinyl, very quality vinyl. And a lot of the records that I've been getting from Acoustic Sounds, especially like these $40 ones, these prestige ones, they sound really great. So you can take it down in amplitude and possibly not interrupt the side of the record. Because me and Liam were talking about this, this morning on the Discord. So it's possible, it's doable. So
here was one question about the QRP pressings, and I agree, Andy's music. When you order early enough, you will get those. It's not that we sell 20,000 titles of them in 3 days. So you have time. It's no pressure. This is almost guaranteed.
Michael, have you got the list in front of you? Have you?
I have the list in front of me.
Just interested to see what
you wanted
really
something specific.
On 3 or 4 bands, really. So
when it comes to the rock band, Bad Company,
Foreigner is there as well, isn't it?
Foreigner. There's Foreigner. Self-titled.
That's a great album.
Quite some Coltrane's. Genesis, quite some, which here in Europe is huge. I don't know what's the take on Genesis in the United States, George.
What's the take on what in the United States? Sorry,
Genesis, because I know here in Europe the people are totally excited about those.
I think that a lot of Americans associate Genesis with that sort of late period, Invisible Touch, We Can't Dance vibe. But the proggier, let's just say, the progressive side of Genesis was sort of more. I think it wasn't big. It was, but it was there. It was just a little more underground, and it wasn't, in the charts. I think it wasn't until Peter Gabriel left and Phil Collins became the singer that it kind of took off in America. But I think a lot of people have gone back, because Peter Gabriel became very popular in the 80s as well. And I think people went, whoa, let's go back and see what was going on here. And then it grew from that, sort of looking back. So
George, would you say Yes were more popular than Genesis in the early 70s in the States? Yes were bigger?
Yeah, because
I think they were. Yeah.
Yes had some chart hits in America back, Roundabout and stuff like that. I don't know if they were charts much, but they were FM radio staples.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that the sound is not me, right? That's Michael moving around that booklet, I think. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
It's on top of his microphone, I think. So, but yeah, so the yes was already there, and got even more so that later version of, what is it, 902?
Yeah, 90125. Yeah.
90125. That blew up.
Yeah.
But yet they were already sort of established, unlike
Yeah.
Genesis early on.
Yeah, they are in Atlantic too, right?
Mm.
The elephant in the room. We will see. No
But can you
idea.
imagine if they would have announced Led Zeppelin? It would have took the shine off everything else as well. I think that needs to be done on its own.
If it
comes.
If it happens. But I think I agree totally, because nobody would talk about Bad Company when those records has been included.
That first Bad Company album is brilliant.
And the one with the dices, I love that too.
Yeah.
And what really surprises me and excites me, because again, that we get this as an analog production title in 45.
You just never would have thought it. You just never would have thought it, would you?
No.
Especially with Bad Company. You said, oh, no one's doing.
Liam Ellis Cooper?
Yeah.
And this is a great sounding album, by the way. Yeah. This is an amazing sounding album. Sorry, when I sometimes go to my cell phone, because I'm doing 3 things right now, also with the shop and the newsletter that is going on.
So
exciting.
What are the titles, Michael? What are the titles there? Can you mention? What other titles are coming on your list?
Which band are you talking about?
Well,
something
I'm just talking about in general. If you roll a few off,
I can do that, of course. I have one for you, Liam. John Coltrane, My Favorite Things.
Well, that could be the one for me. Well, you jazz guys have had it all your own way, haven't you? So it's a little. Chad's thinking of me now. So.
And you know what? One of the most exciting titles for me personally, because I wouldn't have thought that this will be possible. Imagine, we are talking 45 here. Genesis, The Lamp Lies Down the Road.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I have a German original, so that'll be over 4 records then, won't it? It'll be over, obviously.
Bad
4.
Company, self-titled. Another John Coltrane, Liam. Giant Steps. Oh, wonderful. Nadine. Ray Charles.
Yes, I've seen that. What didn't I say? Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Oh, maybe share your opinions about Otis Redding, The Dock of the Bay.
Well, this is a classic Atlantic, and it would have been a shame if no Otis would have been included. I think Otis, Aretha, and Donnie are amongst them. Roberta Flack are some of the main soul artists of Atlantic, and helped Atlantic a lot, especially in the beginning. So there must be. I've seen some questions coming up concerning Aretha. I'm sure there will be some Aretha releases on that list. I can't imagine that he wouldn't include Aretha in it. I can't imagine.
I hope so too. I mean, as I said, Chad said, best-selling, best-sounding versions, and I just cannot imagine that we don't see some Aretha Franklins on the horizon. At least I do hope. In Excess, Kick.
Yeah,
that's a great album.
Yeah, and I think we already mentioned it, but let's mention it again. And wow, Velvet Underground, Loaded.
Yeah.
No Cream on there by any chance? No Cream?
No Cream. George, what can a master engineer do with Velvet Underground Loaded?
To be honest with you, I think that every single mastering engineer sits in the best possible environment they can, uses the best possible tools on any given day, and hopefully, and most of the good ones do, have a knowledge and a respect for the historical perspective on that record and where we're at right now. And they try to take the best possible source and put it in the best possible light and still maintain that perspective of where it falls in history, where it's at right now, and what can be done with it. I think that, you know, I don't think that a mastering engineer thinks about it any other way than to just technically try to be as accurate as and get as much out of the tape as possible without coloring it with their own perspective. And also it you know, we know now as we get farther along, you don't always have an optimal situation. And you know, a good mastering engineer has the tools and the ability to bring out the best with what they have. And it's what we, you know, I think it's the best possible situation, because Chad goes after the best guys in the business to put those records in the best possible way that they can. And I think it's going to be I think every single one of them is going to be as best as it can be, considering where we're at right now and what we have available. You know?
Exactly. And, you know, it doesn't mean that you always get an unbelievable, great sounding record.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the Atlantic. I mean, they are not always the best sounding records that have ever been done. But I think, and that's the more important part, you will get the best possible sounding record in this series, and that should be the goal in my opinion.
Well, Michael, if you remember Stand Up by Jethro Tull, I can imagine them being at that standard. So it might
that was
be
a surprise, right?
Yeah.
That was a huge surprise.
I mean, that sounds incredible. And when you think it's not really an audiophile recording, but it does smash the original. So I'll be happy if that happens. But have you got any idea, Michael, on how many they're pressing? So say, for instance, how many of these? Is it 5,000? Do we know yet?
I think Chad said that at least the first 2,000 will be done by QRP. Yeah. And then it might, because we are talking a huge amount of titles and records here, then every now and then RTI might get into it too, but most of them are QRP. But I can, you know, the series right now is just starting. We know about it for one day. We now know the first 3 titles at the beginning of October, and then he will get his experiences. How many? As they are not specifically limited. Okay, they are limited. There are a few numbered ones if you are into this. Yeah. Otherwise, they seems not to be limited. So this also will change from title to title, right? I can imagine that In Excess Kick get quite some, and all those soul and funk. No, I'm just kidding.
It's important to, you know, not every record was made to be, you know, the Dark Side of the Moon. Sometimes it was just, you know, especially with those Atlantic, we're spoiled with the blue notes that we hear nowadays, because it was very, let's just say, and I'm not trying to say it in a bad way, but homogenized in the sense that there was a system there with, you know, Rudy Van Gelder making records and how he made them and what he did. And there's a, you know, we see a lot of RVG on a lot of records. And then, but you know, the Atlantic records, a lot of the time it was just, you jump in there, you make the record, and the take was more important than, in some situations, than the actual sound quality, because sometimes it just was happening like that. And we all will appreciate the best possible look at any of those records. And we, even somebody like me that it looks for good sound, I will take a great performance over, you know, perfect fidelity every day, because you're hearing something that, you know, is a one-off, and it's very special to listen to. But, you know, if it sounds good too, that's great, you know.
Exactly.
JMcG, limited maybe in the degree at how long you can get it, maybe, but I haven't heard of any limited numbers so far. But let me get back to what George just said. It also has a lot to do with what you are used to, George. Don't you agree? Or Liam, Nadine, Thomas. And we are now used to this Blue Note approach, this Rudy Van Gelder approach. Those rock titles also often have a different approach. And what Liam just said with the stand-up from the Jethro Tull analog production did last year, this is an unbelievable good sounding record. Of course, totally different than a Blue Note, but still unbelievable good sounding.
Yeah,
I'm not used to that tone poet kind of approach, honestly, because as George pointed out, many of especially the soul recordings weren't meant to be audiophile. The setup wasn't even there for this. Sometimes you have on one track the lead vocal plus the bass, and today you can't separate them anymore. And so many of there's also one record I love, one of my favorite soul albums. It came out on Perception. This is not even reissued, and it's it's a fantastic album. But since I can't say more enough, my new turntable, I'm like, oh, production wise, sound wise, this is not the best record, but the music on it's tremendously good. I would love to hear a reissue where everything you get this approach, but it's not, I don't see it somewhere. So I'm happy that we have finally some steps where we get into that and finally get some great sounding soul records.
Yeah.
Manfred, in this case, I really do not agree.
But I do love the Jethro Tull, Stephen Wilson, Aqualung.
Yeah, of course, but it's not as good as the analog production.
I'll have to take your word, but it's absolutely, I think it's amazing about what Wilson did, because I'm not keen on Wilson's King Crimson stuff, but that Aqualung, I mean, I haven't heard the UHQR. Do you think it beats it? Yeah.
I've never done a comparison of them when it comes to the Aqualung.
But I was really surprised because it's probably Wilson's best effort, I think. Certainly one of them.
I don't know if they had. Some said they are already gone. I haven't heard that yet. Careful with those predictions. So. Okay, I mentioned it again, no problem. The ones that are up for early October are Face Value, Phil Collins, John Prine self-titled, and the Mingus. Roots and Blues. You can see that on my web if they are right there.
And do we know what's coming in the following months as we go along?
I don't.
We're not sure
I think. Good question. I think we will get those very, very shortly. I think some of them has time. Can you imagine the workload? It's
Well, I hope he doesn't release 2 of Genesis in November and then 2 of Yes in December, because I know what I'm getting for Christmas then.
Yes, I was thinking the same. I was like,
He did hold up a bunch of looked like to be stout and jackets of a bunch of other titles that weren't in that initial one, and he said that the reason he has all those is because they've already started pressing. So whether or not the schedule, he did show, he showed some good titles.
It was the Nursery Crime were amongst them, right, George?
I think it was.
I think I saw Nursery Crime in that video.
That company. Yeah, and the 3 that will be there in October. One question for Thomas, though. What do you think, Thomas? Does those announcements and audiophile releases, or will they have an impact when it comes to the originals? Because quite often, when those reissues, those big reissues comes out, the originals also goes up in demand because the people want them too. What do you expect from this announcement when it comes to the originals?
It's always the best-selling time when there's a reissue coming out. It's just when it get the focus, it can be from now on. Just like people know they're coming out.
Oh, I
see. Start looking for those titles. and I can see they have like 6,000 into stock. So it's a good for selling some of them. But the good
So you
titles,
only have 6,000 Atlantic titles in stock, okay?
yeah, but the good titles has gone, and that's why I mean with the good timing, because we don't get them that often anymore. The good titles.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, as Nadine stated out already at the beginning of the video, good, clean Genesis originals.
Very, very hard. Very hard to find. Definitely.
You have some, Liam, right? I have
Yeah.
some too, but really, really difficult. Really, really difficult.
Especially nursery crime as well. I mean, that is a tough one. And you need a clean copy because there's passages on there that if you've got a scratchy one, it just spoils the enjoyment. So you really, and with something like Analog Productions, I mean, I'm all in on original records. You know that, and I prefer them. And I've actually gone down the route where I'm just looking for the best mastering, the best pressings, what country are German. But with Analog Productions, 9 out of 10, I've always gone, right, I don't need to seek out the original, like the Jeff Beck, and even though I do have a blow by blow original, but this just absolutely smashes it, the Analog Productions. So when the reissues at this high standard, you know, it's hard to ignore, and you can trust them, and you can, you know, it's not.
It also makes life quite easy, right? You know, you order it, you have a clean copy, you have a perfect jacket, it will sound great. Hey, can save you a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's so great that he's putting out. You can buy the whole series, and you know you have the best possible version of that record. So I think that's great to have it in one series, and not just one label is reissuing this record, the other label is reissuing that label, so you can all have it from one place. I like that idea very much.
And you know, that's a collector thing, and we see, you know, these, you know, even Chad, he goes out and he rebuys back entire series of his own records, you know, from collectors that he sold them to. And you know that, you know, 15, 20 years down the road and someone has an entire, because when you do the sub, you get the same number for all of the albums. And if you have like number 005 or whatever it is of the entire 75 record collection, whatever it ends up being, that's going to be a something that people are going to be going after, the collector types. And I mean, that's a whole different thing, but you know, because a lot of us are just like, I just want to get a record that I can afford and have it. But man, I know that I would love to have that entire, you know, Atlantic, you know, all numbered would be fun. But I mean, I know I'm not going to have it.
Will you, George? Come on.
No.
You want to make an announcement?
Oh, no.
Now I have to ask you, George. Which titles I get them whatever comes. Are there some for you in this series?
Yeah, and it's funny because they're the things that maybe seem to be the most common records, like Bad Company. That blows my mind. I want to see what can be brought out of that Bad Company record. I know everybody's got it and everybody's heard it a million times, and you can still go out and find good copies. But that treatment, having that one just immediately, the Nursery Crime, Lamb Lies Down, those records, those two that I just, when I was seeing some of those, I was going, man, that's going to be, I'm not going to be able to resist, you know? And then I know that there's also going to be the ones that we're not thinking about, some of them that we just skimmed over and went, oh yeah, no, I didn't, you know? And then all of a sudden someone's going to have it. They're going to be talking about how good it is. And you know, you're going to have to jump on that. You know what I mean? You know?
Actually, I can imagine that this will also be happening. Yeah. But for me, that's how I collect when it comes to audiophile reissues. I love those series. Either I'm totally not into a series, totally not, or all in.
Yeah.
It might be stupid in a way, but that's how I collect. You know, I want them all. I say, oh, no, that's not interesting. I don't get this. I get into this series.
Well, the thing with this series is that Atlantic is one of the most important labels ever. They have one of the best catalogs out there. So having a whole collection where you have rock, you have soul, you have other genres, and having a whole collection, the best possible quality, how awesome is that? So you could just live with this records to have your own collection out of these records, and you have a pretty decent collection just with these rooms.
Yeah, true.
And I noticed Chad is doing this one as well.
He's doing. Which one is it?
Genesis.
Oh yeah, the
From
Genesis.
the 8th. I've just found a copy of that for done by the mastering engineer Dennis Blackham at Bilbo. If you see a record with Bilbo, and it sounds absolutely, he's cut it hot. It's incredible. I found it last week for, I think it was £6.
See?
But it's absolutely unbelievable. So that's an interesting title to do, because that's what you do. You chase the mastering engineers, and it's interesting that Chad is using the best around of the latest mastering engineers.
True.
You know,
another question for George here. I think the main guy, the name that always comes up when it comes with Atlantic stuff is Jerry Wexler. I hope that.
My God, Jerry Wexler, he's a legend.
Yeah, but he is quite not that popular. Why? What has this poor guy done? I have heard so bad comments about him. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Wexler's more the label head type guy, right? I think that from an engineering standpoint, Tom Dowd is another name that comes up regularly with Atlantic, and there's I've heard all, you know, business is
George
business.
Peros as well. George Peros.
George Peros.
Yeah.
Well, he's a mastering engineer, right?
Yeah, I think he definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and he cut some
I think he's
good,
done a few of the Yes records for the American market.
Yeah, and he's done some fabulous sounding Zeppelin records as well. You know, if you can't, you know, for me, it's always been if you can't afford the RL, go after the Peros for, you know, Zeppelin too. And but you know, I think the Wexler thing has been just like any other. There's political stuff going on behind the scenes with labels and label management and that kind of stuff. I've just heard all kinds of stories about it, but I'm not well versed enough in it to get into why everybody has or a large group of people have a problem. You know,
he produced this record. He produced Aretha Franklin records. He produced many records which are now considered as one of the greatest records from this specific artist. So Jerry is absolutely a legend. Like George said, business-wise, that business is tough. You have to make decisions where you're not making friends. It's about how successful are you with your label, and the numbers is what counts at the end of the year. But he is really Jerry Wexler is a real legend. He also helped to produce an unreleased album by Karen Carpenter in 1978, 1979 that never really got out. So I love Jerry. Without him, many albums wouldn't have been possible.
Okay. Thanks for sharing this. But why does everybody says he was a terrible person? That's what I read so far. Okay. I might have the wrong sources then.
I think it was disagreements with certain artists and opinions about other artists. I think Rojas said it in here that, you know, he was known to hate Led Zeppelin, right? And so that's again a sampling of opinions and being outspoken and making deals and favoring this and that. There's all kinds of. I think there's probably a book about it somewhere. You know, you hear that about a lot of there's like label people that also have their name on records as producers or, you know, otherwise. And there's that line between whether are you front office or are you in the studio? And when those things mix, then other artists start to go, well, why is this guy, you know, producing them? And are we getting fair treatment? I think it ends up being like artists battling with label people. And I think that's where a lot of the bad blood comes from, is hearing stories about that. You hear it also about like Don Arden, right? You know, Black Sabbath and Ozzy and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And you hear it with, you know, the Berry Gordy thing. You know, there are a lot of people say that he was kind of had a lot of different oars in the water, so to speak. And it caused friction amongst different people at different times. And, you know, I'm trying to be as diplomatic as possible without, you know, saying anything that might make somebody, you know, get upset somewhere. But, you know, we all have, you know, we all have our pluses and minuses, and, you know, unfortunately history's played out to have a lot of artists saying things about him and people going along with it, you know.
Yeah, Barry Gordy is a good point. He was always been said that he favored Diana Ross because he was having an affair and later on a love child with her. There and he gave Diana Ross and the Supremes the better songwriting team instead of Martha Reeves. So there's many stuff going on in this. So
yeah, and Smokey was involved in some of that stuff. You know,
exactly.
Smokey, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Another record I want to just throw into the panel. Hall & Oates, Abandoned Luncheonette. That's a surprise.
I'm a big Hall & Oates fan. Like,
you are? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
me too. I love Hall & Oates. Love Hall & Oates.
Yeah, always have done. That's one for me and my wife used to go and see them a couple of times. So
okay, cool.
So that's something where we can put on together instead of me boring with prog music, you know. But
Nadine, Hall & Oates?
Yes, I love them, especially the 80s stuff.
Yeah.
I can go for that. Wasn't that song? Yeah, I love them.
Yeah.
And Daryl Hall, coming from that Philadelphia scene, you know, that soul scene, and he's a really, really underrated singer. You know, he's thought of as a pop singer, but that guy really can sing, you know, in a very soulful way. He's a very good singer.
Yeah.
And I think what also comes into play with this title
Private Eyes
probably is one of the most selling Atlantic titles, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
Stunty.
Salut.
How excited are you?
I haven't seen the list, but I really hope for some Miami bass, some freestyle.
I know Stunty's very excited about the Yes, aren't you, Stunty?
I
think
can't wait for
echo.
For the two live crew. Oh, there's an echo?
I think so, yeah.
Hello, Thomas. Let me see.
I wonder if I'm echoing with Stunty as well. No, I'm the only one not echoing through Stunty.
Right.
Now? How is it now?
Now it's better.
Okay,
Now it's better.
yeah.
At least on my end, it's better. Yeah, of course, you are expecting the stuff that we probably won't see.
But it's funny, like you and I, we talk, so I have an idea of what is coming out in the future, because I think you might have some information.
Yeah, no, not really. I have also some
not everything, of course, but
no, but I don't think that we will get a lot of freestyle stuff, because this is just not the target. 1 second. This is just not the target group of analog production, right? And you cannot expect them to do this, no matter how much you would love to see it.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, how about Free Jazz by Ornette Coleman?
Yeah, that might be more or less realistic. I agree. He just put out an Ornette Coleman on the Contemporary Records label.
But I don't hear no one talk about the jazz stuff, but like on the like I mean that is an album that is historically very important. Even I have my opinion on it, but yeah.
Stunty, are you excited about Phil Collins? You'll be interested in that, won't you?
Who?
Phil Collins.
Who?
It's a guy from Genesis, Stunty.
Yeah, he used to be a drummer.
I have some Genesis records, I'll have you know.
Oh, yeah.
But not the ones you'd expect. Or maybe.
Well, yeah, we've all got them.
Well, you know, with Hugh Padgham and I think Steve Lillywhite and Hugh Padgham, that team, they with Phil Collins, also with Peter Gabriel, and then later with XTC, there was a sound that was being created engineering wise that those Phil Collins records were sort of the genesis of. See what I did there? But I mean, it was a renowned situation in terms of record production and sound. So that I know people are sick of those songs because you hear them so often, but they were influential, and especially in recording industry, you know.
Yeah, Ole Coltrane, we will see. I'm quite sure. I think I've seen this. Yeah, but I think again, and we cannot emphasize this enough. We have waited so long, and that's why we put, of course, a lot of weight onto the rock pop stuff now. We have waited so long for this to happen. You know, we've seen last year the Stand Up, but now seeing so many rock and pop titles as Audiophile reissue, this is really, really exciting. Really exciting, and people, I see that here now, they really get into it. And they are excited too. And in a way, the first three titles are chosen very, very well with the Mingus, the Phil Collins, and the John Prine, because they cover the variety of the whole season of the whole series very, very well in my personal opinion. And I hope, go.
Which Charles Mingus is it?
Blues and Roots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, Blues and Roots. It's an amazing sounding album, to say the least. Wonderful, wonderful. And we will even see the clown, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen this wonderful jacket. Can you imagine the clown as a stout?
I hate that jacket so much.
Yeah, maybe because you're afraid of clowns, but
no, I don't. Yeah, no, but it's just like the whole color combination. Like I find it creepy, but not because it's a clown. It could be like a cake. It would be the same thing. Like I don't like that.
But maybe it's supposed to be creepy a little bit. I think this is.
It has an impact at least.
Dress covers. Okay, I asked George Borden already for his those I must have. Nadine, what are yours? What are your must-have titles?
From the ones I've seen, of course, Otis Redding, of course, Donny Hathaway. I always want to have an original from him, but finding a clean copy is tremendously expensive. So I'm happy for that one. And also Bad Company, the Phil Collins ones. So yeah, that's quite something. So I'm really thinking about getting the whole thing. But yeah,
as a collection then, right? Yeah, I get that.
I don't need to have the subscription thing, this limited one with the numbers. I don't need that, but otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to Stunty, I only see one title where I might be totally wrong. Stunty, correct me.
I'm looking at the list right now.
So Velvet Underground, Loaded, maybe Stunty. No.
I'll tell you. The David Crosby Could Only Remember My Name is an amazing record.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, some Dr. John. There, that's probably the most Chad record on the whole list, the Dr. John records.
The Dr. John's, right? Yeah, I thought so too, by the way.
Yeah, that would be interesting if he put some special care into them.
No, he won't. I don't think so. But Dr. John has done amazing albums. Come on. Wonderful.
Yeah. He's a wonderful musician, yeah.
Thomas, have you heard or seen any titles? Oh, excuse me, I just wanted to demute you because of the echo. Have you seen any titles you are really excited about to get in this series?
No, I think I'm most excited to get more focus on the Atlantic records because I think we're just talking about the top of what Atlantic is, and not many people know all the Atlantic records. And if I was looking just like a
wait, I make you a big educate us, show us. Yeah.
Not many people know those records yet.
Yeah.
It's like the first 20 jazz records on Atlantic, and there's not many titles that people know of.
Yeah. So this is very, very, very early Atlantic now.
This is the first jazz releases.
Ah, cool. Will we see all of them in the OBC shop, Thomas?
We could.
Okay, cool. Wow.
Yeah, and they're on this Black Atlantic. It's like the first mono releases. Later came like this.
Oh, okay.
So do we know if it's mono or stereo, the stuff that's coming out?
I guess stereo for the very most part, right? I haven't read other. Wait, I make you big again.
I just show some.
Beautiful. Here they come.
That was like the first 45 releases, I think.
Wow.
You know, there's someone on Thomas left, on someone's right. Okay,
come again?
Out of...
No, there's probably not.
Yeah, I was just
So, Stadi, have you found some titles finally?
Well, no, I looked at them all, and if I was getting one of these, that would be the Crosby one.
The Crosby one.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think, George?
Finally one.
The David Crosby record is fantastic. It's a great Crosby record. It's for me, the only is it. Did he do? I think he did a couple later solo albums, but I think you could take that one and be good with that. It's that good of a record.
Yeah, you don't need any other ones of his.
Yeah, I was just talking about this on another stream the other night. It might have been my own, but I can't remember now. But Crosby, to me, he's the kind of the thing, about Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Composer, yeah.
He makes Crosby that three voice stacking. You always hear Graham Nash and you always hear Steve Stills, and maybe Crosby is not the most interesting as the lead singer, but the way that he harmonizes between those two voices is sort of, to me, the sound of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I mean, he's very underrated as a singer, and it comes out on that record.
Is he really that underrated?
I think that, as when people think about the voice of Crosby, Stills, and Nash, you're always hearing Graham Nash on the top. You're always paying attention to him being the top melody or that harmony stack. And Steve Stills, but Dave Crosby, he was just more of a really good harmonizer. To the point where I'm not saying he's a bad lead singer. What I'm saying is his harmony skills are so good and so adept that it overshadows almost his ability to just be a lead singer. To me, really, I'm just saying in my book, he's that good of a harmonizer. And he does some vocal stacking on that record that is just phenomenal. It's a great,
It's just I've always heard of him solo more than the others. So for me, I'm a bit surprised but maybe. I mean, we all have our own.
Well, Steve Stills solo, I think, was the most popular of the his first solo album, second solo album, and Manassas, and him doing his thing was, I think, he was the most.
He married a French girl, a French yeye singer, so we can't take him seriously.
Well, there's that, and then Graham Nash, Songs for Beginners. That was another great, album, and I just mean, like, when you listen to Crosby, Stills, and Nash, it's usually those Graham Nash lead vocals or those Steve Stills lead vocals that are sort of the big hit songs. The Crosby songs are not usually; they're more like deeper cuts in Crosby, Stills, and Nash records. That was all I was trying to say. I'm not trying to put them down.
But we know
Almost Cut My Hair, David Crosby. Almost Cut My Hair is an amazing vocal on Deja Vu. Like,
When you do deep cut
Now that
albums,
you're already at it, Liam, what are your titles you get for sure? Because as I know you, you're not the guy who said, "Okay, I got the whole series." This is not your approach when it comes to this.
Oh no, I'll handpick them. Well, I mean, the Genesis one, it'll be definitely Nursery Crime. That's a definite. The Foxtrot, I've got an original Porky of that, so I'll have to think of that one. Probably The Lamb, because I'm going with my favourites here, you know. So
also the Yes titles, although you have probably all the originals.
Oh, definitely the Yes album, because I'd love to see that improved. Probably the Yes titles, I'd probably be tempted with the 4. Definitely Fragile, because maybe a couple of Bad Company. And as I said, what's the CSN? How many albums? Is it just the
quite some. We will see Deja Vu. We will
the original
see
Couch album.
Come again, please.
The original Couch album, is that on it?
Yeah. CSN. We will see Daylight again.
Atlantic label, the Plum.
Buffalo Springfield. We will see too.
Oh yeah, Buffalo Springfield. That'll be tempting.
Yeah.
CSN.
And you know how it is. Come on, you are not out of iron. If you love them, you will be tempted to get, or maybe this one too, or come this one too.
Oh yeah. I mean, as I said, I still haven't had a full look at the list, so I just need to. But I could easily buy 10 without thinking about it.
Yeah.
Very easily, you know.
And imagine and consider also that those titles.
Oh, Trick of the Tail, Trick of the Tail. Yeah.
And imagine that those titles are also probably be spread over, two per month. Yeah, do the math. 3 years.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Yeah, if it's spread out, it mightn't be. You might be waiting 2 months before you get one title that you'd like. Or
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But also, what Thomas just, I want to get into that point because I find that very tempting in a way. Now that he showed all those very early Atlantic titles, there is a very good possibility, and I totally agree with Thomas that now with this series, people and collectors and music lovers are tempted to get deeper into this catalog because the titles Thomas just showed, quite of them has been totally unknown to me, at least. I don't know how it is with you, but it might make it
oh, Michael, the Milt Jackson?
No, the Milt Jackson I knew, but not all 40 of those titles I didn't know. And this is a very interesting aspect that it puts a spotlight on the whole label. And maybe something similar might happen, what happens to the Blue catalog. With those series, they really get a lot of attention. They really drag people into this kind of stuff, and very interesting. What do you think, Nathan?
I think that's true, and I do hope that they might start to do a catalog like the early Atlantic, or something like this. So I'm really looking forward to this, that this opens up something new, and that they see, oh, the series is successful. We might try something different. That would be great.
Yeah. Maybe it's just only the beginning. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I can just imagine now how hard it must be to pick the titles.
Yeah. I must say I'm kind of confused by the two Stone Temple Pilots records.
Why?
Seems a little bit random to me.
They're really good albums, though, Stunty. They're really
and what
really
year were they?
records.
Were they 90s then?
Yeah,
those two. Yeah.
93, I think, and 94 maybe. The first album, Core, and then the second album, Purple. Those are phenomenal records. They're really well made, and from beginning to end, they play really well. They're really good records.
For me, they are amongst the most exciting titles. But yet again, because it's such a huge surprise to me that we see them with the analog production treatment.
We knew that Chad wanted to get into stuff like that. So
exactly,
hard.
Exactly.
It doesn't. Yeah, but yeah, I get where George is coming from. I have a different perspective, but maybe I'm not familiar enough with the Atlantic catalog of the 90s. I know a lot about the stuff they put out in the 80s, but maybe there's not that much like big names, big titles in the 90s for them.
Oh, there are, but aren't the
I mean,
Lemonheads?
there are lots of R&B
Lemonheads,
rap,
I think,
like
yeah.
Brandy. I would have been more happy to see Brandy's album than Stone Temple Pilots, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe I have to explain, and not only to Stunty, why does the Stone Temple Pilots makes me so excited? Because when I got back into vinyl, when I got back into or started audiophile reissue collecting, there was no way of thinking about in Stone Temple Pilots 45 RPM remastered Kevin Gray, Ryan K. Smith, Chris Pellman version from Analog Production. This is such a huge step into a very, very exciting and interesting direction. That's Stunty why this makes me so
Yeah, but then okay, it's it's a very niche thing then in a way.
Well, the Stone Temple Pilots have sold a lot of records. They got a pretty large fan base,
Sure.
and they've been trying to reissue those lately, and they've been doing these like anniversary ones, and they weren't as good. They weren't as good as I was hoping. That's not me. They didn't come out as good as I was hoping they would be. They were more sort of like just sort of standard fare reissues, and I think they put like more into the packaging and the sort of like the celebration, but the records themselves left a little bit to be desired. I'm very, very confident that the two Stone Temple Pilots that they're going to do, if they do the two, you could do any of them, but those two I think will be big sellers. I think that those will go real fast. I think you'd be surprised.
Sorry to step out a little bit of the Atlantic stuff, but to stay in the realms of stuff, rock 90s stuff that Chad could maybe do, then that would be amazing.
2 minutes.
It would be the Mark Lanigan album. You know, the one on Sub Pop, the what's the name, George? The Winding Sheet. That would be possible for Chad to do something like that, and that would be amazing.
Is that Sub Pop? Is that?
Yeah, it's Sub Pop. You know, it's the Mark Lanigan album where he covers the Meat Puppets. Where it's where basically if people are into the Nirvana MTV Unplugged, where there's a lot of crossover territory there.
Yeah, I mean, if it seems to me though that Sub Pop's pretty much got their groove and they're doing it, and would they do something like that? Would Sub Pop want to do a audiophile reissue of,
if you give them money, why not?
Yeah, maybe so. I
mean, this is all about two things: about money and about what Chad's like. So why not?
But I don't think that this list is all Chad liked. I do think that he kind of changed directions with choosing the titles, and that's, I think, for me the biggest deal actually, because I was like, okay, the next release maybe ballads as a super duper release or something else as a super duper release, something jazz or blues, and now In Excess, Phil Collins, that was for me the biggest change in that. He chose these titles.
Well, wait, there's In Excess in the list?
Yes.
Yeah.
Stunty. You're...
I mean, you need to get the Yes album. You'll enjoy that.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that there's so many titles. It's such a vast collection, and it's so varied that everybody on here is gonna. I'll take these 5. I'll take those 5, and I think that's a pretty. That's something that we haven't really. The Prestige thing was close, but that was all blues and jazz. To have all of this variation with the entire Atlantic catalog and being able to have selections from all over the place. It's kind of a new thing, and it's what people have been asking for, and he's doing it, but he can't, he's not ever going to please all of us, I don't think, completely. But all of us are probably going to get at least one of those, two of those, five of those.
I can imagine. Yeah, right. Exactly. That's a strong and important point. Everybody will find a title in there.
Yeah, 100%.
Some might have a problem with the 45 RPM approach, but I think then get a 33 and a third elsewhere, and you will also get a great record. But we covered this topic, right? That he of course goes into the best sounding version. That's it. Period. Bang.
So Michael, will you get any Yes records? Are you tempted with the Yes records?
Are you really surprised when I tell you that I will get the whole series?
No, I'm not surprised one bit. Exactly. Well, yeah, I can't wait for your opinion on those albums.
Yeah,
You've got the Mo-Fi Fragile, haven't you?
I have it, yes.
And a lot of people absolutely rave about that being as one of the best. Now, I've never heard it, so I'll love to hear what Chad comes up with. This would that be amazing, Fragile, because it's a fantastically recorded album anyway.
That's true.
I was thinking about one thing. So there's a lot of people pointing out that a lot of these records have been reissued of recent, somewhat. Yeah. How big do you think is the Chad pool of Chad's release being like an art director for some people who basically these Stone Temple Pilots have been recently reissued, but how many people are like buying whatever Chad's putting out and who usually wouldn't pursue much from their own perspective, if you follow me? I'm just wondering, because I know that statistically there must be some, but I don't know how many.
There will be quite some, I can imagine, and I think this is a great thing, and I think this is called curation.
Yeah, that's why I say that, because in a way, whatever criticism anyone could have, if the numbers are right, it's still like the Chad curated collection of Atlantic, and if there's an audience for that, and if he knows the numbers of that and he does it right, then he probably doesn't care what anyone says or think about it.
Yeah. Let me just get briefly into this from Bob Stinks. How can the quality level be maintained with hundreds of releases at once? It's not at once. It's over to a month, exactly. So roughly 3 years. But yeah, quality level, keep it up, George. Technically, but I think that's the job,
you have SOPs, standard operating procedures, just like any other manufacturing facility. I mean, let's look back in the 1970s and the 1980s. Millions of records every day around the world were being pressed, and you develop a method to keep everything structured, and you hire people and you train those people and you put together a team that you can count on. It's just like any other manufacturing facility, but this one obviously at the end of the day is fragile. It's almost like light bulbs. How do you make 1 million light bulbs and get them to stores and not have them broken? Records are kind of the same thing. You develop a standard by which you produce these, and again, quality control is always an issue. Customer service is an issue, and shipping and handling and all those different things. But I think if looking at your chances of getting a good record from this manufacturer or this person who, let's not forget, we're sitting there and we talk about, Chad this and Chad that because it's his company. It's also sort of a passion project for him. Of course, he's trying to make money and he's trying to run a business, but he also has a very, very specific thing that he's trying to do. And it's a little bit rarefied compared to what the rest of the people are trying to do, which is just get as much product out there to as many people as possible and get it into as many stores as you can. This is different than that. It's not the same thing. So, I don't like every record that he presses, That's okay. You know, I there's a lot of them that I do like, and so far every one that I've got, I've been satisfied with. And that's I can't say that about a lot of companies. So, you know, the guy's got a good batting average, to use an American phrase. He's you know, the average baseball player is lucky to be about 30%. That you get paid, you know, $17 million a year for doing something good 30% of the time. He's batting way over 300 with his catalog that in his choices. So, you know, I can't, you know, complain about it. Really, it's good.
But also, one point you have to consider at that moment is that Chad didn't start pressing them today. So we don't know how many planning went into that and when he actually started pressing. So when you do this batch, you make your quality control and do the next one till you have the amount which is required or necessary, and then you go on. So he's not doing everything at once. So that's, I think, very important to point out, to maintain a certain quality at that.
Yeah.
But even if it was, like, if you think about numbers, like how many copies of, let's say, like I can imagine the pressing will be not exactly the same with each. Like, I mean, he does this 2000 number initially, right, Michael?
Yes, for the
So-
yeah.
Okay,
But
so let's say
I haven't gotten into this completely yet, but there are 500. Are there 500 numbered or 2000? I don't know.
There's 2,000 numbered. There's 500 reserved for the sub thing, where you can set, you can guarantee that you get number, you know, 256 for all of them, and then after that, there's another 1,500 of numbered, and then after that, they're just unnumbered.
Okay.
So let's say he does 2,000 of each initially. I think that Chad's got at least 6 working machines, or even if he has only 4. That's like making 2,000 records. That's what you would do on 2 machines in a normal day shift. So it's nothing. Like, the quality control is the same as any other records for him, I would guess. Why would he? Like, I guess he has some quality control for everything he does. So even if he could probably do like 10 a month without it impacting too much on his production. And if he plans it, as Nadine said, also in advance, that like, I have to put them on my schedule, and he probably has put them on his schedule for some time. But even if he didn't, that wouldn't be such a massive overtake of his whole production. One thing that I wanted to ask you guys, because I'm not sure about it. Am I correct in the fact that, contrary to what a lot of people are saying or claiming or projecting, Chad doesn't say that he does audiophile pressings?
I get your point. Yeah. No.
Because
Yeah,
I don't think he says that, and I think he is correct in that, because of many things that are becoming unbearable, in my opinion, in the vinyl community of late, of all this projection about like audiophile.
What he always says is that he has some rules on how he does it, because he thinks, and I agree, that's the way how it should be done. One of the most important thing is take the original analog tape whenever possible.
Yeah, he has his method, because he if he's not stupid, he knows, and we know he has sometimes, he knows you can't control everything, and there will be some releases that get fucked up for some reason. That happens. That's statistics. And so an audiophile record, it's for the customer to judge. It's not for the producer. And I think he's realistic enough about that, when a lot of people are currently like having completely unrealistic expectations about all these things.
Yeah, correct.
Well, and as far as the numbering at the beginning thing, look, I have some records that are numbered, and then they pressed bazillions of them after. They're worth money. Let's think about this. There is a thing about collecting, and there are people that actually are buying records as an investment. I buy records because I want to listen to them, and I have the only value they have is when I'm listening to them. I don't think about how much they cost or how much I could sell them for, because I don't ever plan on selling them. But I do also understand that there are people out there that collect things. You know, they do the paper cards with people's faces on them. People buy those and they do that. So I'm not putting it down. I don't do it. It's not for me. I don't care if it's numbered or not. But there is a group of people that are very adamant about that kind of stuff. So it's just another facet of how people buy and consume records and other things. You know that.
Like someone here is saying that,
and no matter what your decision or your opinion is about it, some people might say, oh, finally, of course I will get the lowest number possible, or I don't care at all. Nobody is to be blamed about these kind of decisions. And what I've read in the comment section that people who does that have too much money, hey, come on. Let them if they want to. Why not? I mean, this is totally okay. Freedom of choice.
Maybe they're not spending the money then for a holiday or something else that they wouldn't have planned. It doesn't actually mean that you're a millionaire to do that. And some point you say, for me, it's important because I'm a huge fan. So I buy this and I, spend less money on other things. So that could also be a possibility.
Yeah. Let's get Thomas back in. Because I saw he stood up and got some more records to show. Am I in the right impression? You did?
I wanted to pick some of the soul records, but it was too much in there, so I didn't.
Oh, okay, so you didn't.
I took some of those that I want to hear, like those two.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh yeah.
So it will be amazing to hear up against those.
Yeah, we will see those, right? We will see those.
And I think one of what's as well it's on Atlantic is Yosef Chief. And I haven't heard if any of his records is coming out. I love this artist.
Yusuf, he's also on Atlantic. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, maybe one day, Thomas, and then we see Chet doing another video. So yeah, I don't like this one. It's not up to our standards, but come on, I did it for you, Thomas, because you like the Yusuf Lateef so much. Maybe we see something like that. Remember when you did it with the Karma?
about the unnumbered. Wait.
Yeah, no, I did it. You can
okay. I remember buying an album that was limited to 25 copies, and it was a very expensive record, and they forgot to number the record.
Okay.
So what I did is I numbered mine, 1 out of 25, and I mailed the label a picture of that, and I told him, well, it's all right. I took care of that.
Yeah,
what
I would
could
love
do?
Yeah, do your own number. Yeah, but I don't think that this will work. Maybe on Discogs it might work, right?
Well, the thing is, I wrote them an email and told them you can, because they only did 25 copies. They know everyone who has it. So I told them, I wrote to them. Now you can proceed and contact every single other owner of the record, and you can decide which number they have. But I have number 1.
Also, let's not forget that the White Album in its initial run was numbered in the millions, and there are people that go searching for the low numbers, and to get the lower number is a big deal to people. It's another thing to collect and another thing to go after, and if you like doing that's
the most
fine.
famous example, isn't it? The most famous example of using the numbers.
Yeah, but my take on those numbers in a way is that, let's say you get number 18. There is nobody at the factory said, oh, Liam, I have jacket number 18. Can you give me, please, the 18th pressing of the record? This will not happen. Hey, welcome, David.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Michael. Really big news today, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, who's now creating the
You've
echo?
got another echo?
I don't know. Is it gone?
Wait a second. I say something.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Stunty now.
Okay. This is unbelievable, isn't it?
I don't know what it is.
No, it can't be. It's not me. I don't think it's me. I haven't.
No,
changed it.
I muted you, and then there were no echo. So you have echo cancellation on, Stunty?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
So David,
So
how are you doing? Are you good?
I'm good. How about you? It's me now. Put on echo cancellation. Okay. How is it now?
No, I've muted Stunty again. I demute him to see if the echo is gone. Can you say something again, David?
Yes.
No. Okay,
Wow,
so I muted him for a second because I have some questions for you. I already asked here in the panel everybody about those questions. I asked everybody this question. So, what kind of guy are you, David? Getting the whole series, or you pick your own personal nuggets?
I'm going to pick nuggets.
Share your nuggets.
It's a part of it's obviously it's financial thing, doing it all. But definitely the first one that jumped out to me was Close to the Edge, because Fragile's been done, quite a bit, of course. And I'm, a friend of mine and I we're working on we were going to do a shootout of the Yes album and Fragile, and we wanted to do Close to the Edge. And we said, well, we're looking for another good version of it. And then this came out. So, that's, all of a sudden now the choices are growing. So, for me, I think the Bad Company is very interesting. I really was into them a lot. The Buffalo Springfield, I think, is extremely relevant. The Dr. John is really, that's right in Chad's wheelhouse with Louisiana, right? Yeah. I'm glad he got that for his own edification. And then the Genesis, of course, my gosh, all the early Genesis. Wow.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that's a surprise. I wouldn't have seen you as this Genesis guy, but this is a pleasant surprise.
No, I was into Genesis huge when I was in high school. I really liked them.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And but I think you will get more into them because we discussed this. We are talking about a period of 3 years. And when they come two each month, it's different. And then you say, come on, I get this. Come on. It's a boring month so far. I will get the Coltrane Ole.
Michael, now you have the echo.
Stunty is doing
echo gone.
See, this is what happens when Stunty gets in a normal room.
Yeah, exactly.
When he's in his shallow room, he's fine, no problem.
David, is Genesis easy to find where you live? Stunty is unmuted again.
Not always in good condition.
What? You really get an echo when you're unmuted.
Thank you. Sorry, David.
Maybe, that's okay. Maybe he needs his YouTube thing maybe on. In good condition, it's kind of hard to find, honestly. And then of course that's some of the pressings to me, people have really played the heck out of those. So to me, but I've got a lot of OGs of those because like I said, I bought them in high school. I really loved them. So this will be a good shootout.
It's interesting that Genesis were on Atlantic in the US then, is that right? The Genesis
they were, I remember them on like Charisma. Is kind of what I remember them on.
That's what I mean. Do you remember that label? Yeah.
That's what I say. Charisma, I think, right? Yeah. That's what mine are.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
But Charisma doesn't really exist anymore per se, so it probably got folded in under Atlantic.
Yeah, that's right.
And different artists' catalogs have been transferred from one label to another. And
Yes sold their back catalog last year, the Atlantic years, to Warner. So maybe that's why. I think it's just the 12 albums that they did on Atlantic.
But that's weird because it's Warner Electra Atlantic. It really is one big conglomeration.
Because I remember that it was like they must have cut a deal.
So because this is the 75th for Fragile, Kevin Gray.
How does that sound, Dave?
Good, very good, very good. There's a black and a clear vinyl. They do sound a bit different.
Yeah, I'd
Of
go
course
with
they
black.
do.
I'm not a fan
course.
of clear vinyl.
And what's your take on the decision that these are 45 RPMs, David?
Well, I expect no less, honestly, out of trying to do it this way. I believe what's happened here is kind of like with Steely Dan. Universal took the single disc 33, and now, just like this, right? They've got the 33 of this. So, I mean, I think it's got to be something that distinguishes it from the general market. And that's what it does. Now, if you don't want to get up, to me, it's really great exercise. I kind of like it. But
You can use it, right? At a certain age, this gets important.
well, I said on Rachel's stream, this is part of Chad's health plan for the elderly.
What a sad thing to say, David.
I
What a
know.
sad thing
Well,
to say.
it's in jest, of course, but
Okay, Basement 45. All of you are looking forward to the 45 RBN cut, or is there anybody who would love to see those on 33 as a third? No, I'm very fine with it.
yeah, I'm fine with it. I mean, if you really want to have the best shot at the best pressing, that's what that's kind of what it's going to take. So
I already
David,
have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's not. David, do you agree then with Supper's Ready and with Close to the Edge that it's going to be hard to split them?
yes, that's that.
I've got an issue, and I was saying to Michael that maybe there's a consideration where one side will be 33 on those two particular.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I had issues in my mind with the 45, like with some of Alan Parsons stuff, because it doesn't break easily, right?
Yeah.
Close to the Edge is very,
because it builds up the second part of the song, and so be interesting to see how they go.
maybe they're going to do it so that it jumps a groove and you play it backwards and you get the rest of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I think the second two tracks on the Coltrane Love Supreme are sort of one song, but two parts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think they're listed on a lot of cuts as one song, but with like a bracket. But splitting them up, became, I guess, not a big deal to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I agree. That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
But you know what you're getting. You get, like you guys already said.
Yeah,
you didn't expect nothing less, and if you're not comfortable for 45, there are alternatives. But I think Chad's approach is the best possible version of that record. So
That's what the whole company stands for. I mean,
absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. This, and it's kind of like, I mean, this is a big, I was doing a video actually on this. This is a big undertaking. I mean, I hate to use that word, but it really is. These things, I mean, like the Steely Dan thing was no easy thing to pull off. And I think, people generally, and then there's a lot of, well, they didn't do this and they didn't do that. And I'm like, well, you can't have everything. If you want to do that, run a company. Somebody was saying, why aren't there more recent things? I'm like, most of it's digital. So how do you analog it? It's contrary to their mission in some ways. So,
okay. But I would, I totally get your point. And you are right, David. Of course, stick to this. If there is an analog tape.
Sure.
Stick to it. But that should not keep you, in my opinion, from doing something like the Stone Temple Pilots. Just stick to the main thing and do it as good and as with
because they'll
as much care as possible.
Mm-hmm.
As long as he does that, I'm fine with it.
But
And
the
of
main
course-
thing he's doing
and of
here,
course, one sentence and stay transparent and be honest about it.
Oh yeah.
but again, the one very special thing he's doing there, it's not the quality of his pressing, it's the people he works with and the fact that he's doing this on 45. If you're complaining about it being done on 45, as everyone said, all these records are very easy to find. Recent represses, reissues on 33 that probably sound great. what this whole series is about is the guys that Chad is working with and it being on 45. That's basically the two reason why you would be interested in these records. Otherwise, you'll be happy.
And another point, that 45 RPM, when it comes to the quality of the sound, has its advantages.
Yeah, for sure. But like that's for people to decide if they want that with the supposed benefit, which is objective. It's like whatever you like. Of course, you're gonna have a better signal on 45 than 33. Even if sometimes I can tell you from experience that I have songs on 12 inches 45, and I have the song on the album. I think the version sounds amazing on the album, but every single time, of course, it's mechanic. The one on 33 will sound not as loud as the one on 45. It's just mechanic.
Yeah, Thomas stated something similar, Stunty, at the beginning. He also said, I love 45, especially as a DJ. It gives you quite some advantages.
Yeah. And if, again, all these albums are so, or most of them at least, are common and easy to find in a way, so the reason to get this pressing would be the reasons we talked about, which means that the reason to listen to them on that format is not casual. So the whole inconvenience of the 45
doesn't come into it, does it? If you want to collect these, you're not thinking about getting up every 10 minutes. It's just part of it.
Right.
The normality of it.
Oh, you are 100% wrong on that. It is.
Yeah, I was going to say that too, Thor. It actually absolutely does mean better quality, whether or not other things get done to it. That's going to, but the resolution, it's like saying, technically, 96K is not better than 44:1. Well, technically it is. It's a higher resolution and it's a better, reading of or drawing of the waveform. That doesn't mean though that somebody's not going to ruin it on the way into the recording device, but
And that's what Michael. No, it doesn't. No, sorry. What Basement 45 says. It doesn't. It's whatever you think the noise floor is.
I'm sorry. Raise the noise floor from 45 RPM. Actually, I think you can get farther away from it with higher resolution like that.
Yeah, but some things die hard. You can talk about it and talk about it. Those impressions stay.
If you want 33 RPM, there are reissues from Rhino, from Craft Recordings available. So there's a lot to choose from if you're not into 45. So, like I said, love it or leave it.
Yeah.
There are alternatives. If you don't want that, like I said, I've heard that the Rhino reissues are very good. The Craft reissues are very good. So there's alternatives to do that.
Correct. And again, we have now more freedom of choices, and this is always a good thing. There is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's correct. Though it doesn't guarantee that something else isn't going to stop it. But if you take the exact same sort of transfer and you transfer it in at 33 and you transfer it in at 45 with a
it just means that
resolution.
If a 45 pressing is worse than a 33, that's an exception. That's an anomaly. Like if you have the choice between the two, before you listen to them, you know that the one on 45 will have a better definition, will be louder. And if it's not, it's because they fucked up.
I agree, Thor. But if we only talk about things that are absolutely guaranteed, then this will be a 15-second stream. And Joel, now that you do it for the 10th time, of course, this is a special product with a special approach. And if you don't spend that much money on a record, I have a great idea. Don't.
There's probably 1.5 billion people in the Western world right now. Just saying.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But it was interesting that we were talking about Hall & Oates earlier. Now, they released 2 albums, I think it was last year. and they were 90s albums, and they never got a vinyl release. I think this was one of them. I don't know whether, but they put them out at 45 RPM, which is unusual. But it was a case of, because they were digital and only available on CD, they've tried to give it the best chance on the vinyl record. I mean, because I came home and it didn't have no sticker saying 45 RPM. I put it on, it was the wrong speed automatically, and then this doesn't sound right. So it just shows you. So you've probably got Stone Temple Pilots. I'm right in saying, would you say 93? That would be digital, George?
I believe Stone Temple Pilots is an analog recording, the first two albums.
Oh, brilliant.
I believe that they are. I think it's Brendan O'Brien, and I think he was pretty adamant about recording the tape.
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah, there and let's get into some open questions now after this announcement at the end of the stream. There is no room for speculation. A lot of room, and I'm not talking Led Zeppelin here, of course, because this topic has been covered quite well. Will he get into more recent title even more? Because we are still missing some. We are still missing some titles. I think this is speculation now, of course. I think Aretha Franklin has a very good chance. What else? What do you expect? When you speculate now, what will we...
Otis Redding.
Otis Redding? We have Otis Redding, Stunt.
Okay. I missed it. Sorry.
Bad comment. Okay, Liam, you start the speculation. Come on.
So what's the question again? Is it to
there's still room. We are missing some titles. We know that. He mentioned that in a way. What do you think? What will we see? What will come up?
Well, you've got all right. If it's not Led Zeppelin, there's always speculation with the Who, wasn't it? And I said
wrong label.
Wrong label. Okay. Is it just more of the? I mean, what's the as you say? If you look for more recent of the 80s and 90s Atlantic, because wasn't AC/DC on Atlantic even?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So I mean, imagine AC/DC on double 45.
That would be quite something, right? AC/DC.
So that's
David,
one example. You think of anyone? Thomas can maybe.
Now let's go to David, then Thomas, George, Nadine, and Stunty gets another 10.
I was shot 901.
Wait, David.
Sorry.
I mute Stunty. Sorry. Okay, now you can go.
Thanks. 90125 by Yes. I was surprised it wasn't on this list.
It wasn't?
Yeah, it was on.
It is on the list.
It is on the list. It is on the list, David.
How did I miss that? I scrolled through that. How many times? Wow. I got to look again. I really didn't see it. Maybe it ended a page. Yeah, well, that's good because that's one that I guess I was so focused on Close to the Edge. I was living close to the edge.
You get another take for speculation.
Well, let me think about it. Come back to me.
Okay, I come back to you. Maybe Thomas is ready for some speculation. Are you?
No, I was just wondering if he would go into some of the sub-labels of Atlantic, because that's where I find a lot of interesting stuff.
Might that be some restraints he cannot go?
Yeah, there might be, but also like the Genesis is only the later stuff that came out on Atlantic first. So but there's a lot of Artco. It's like a nice label with like a lot of really nice albums. But it might be he go into that later.
Let's hope. The more the merrier. The more the merrier.
But I'm still hoping that he'll put this one out.
Let's show this one again. Show it again because this is. Chad, look at this. Headless Heroes of the Apocalypse. We need this one. Probably a hard to get record, right? George. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Come again. I was too fast. Come again, please.
It's not impossible. It's not impossible, but it's getting more and more difficult. He made 2 albums that really good. Both on Atlantic.
Wow. Okay, George, you have had time enough, at least I hope. Oh no! Oh wait, I muted you. No.
Cream,
Cream.
for sure. AC/DC. Those two would immediately. I mean, obviously the Zeppelin as well. But those two, and I believe Capricorn was a subsidiary, and some Stax stuff. You know, I think Tom Dowd went down, and they had a thing going on there. But like Almond Brothers, you know, I would love to hear. You know, I'd love to hear a nice 45 RPM of, you know, Fillmore East and the first Almond Brothers releases. I'd love to hear that. You know, for me, those would be mine.
Nadine, what else than Bonnie M? Or aren't they on Atlantic?
Oh, and I forgot. I'm sorry. The Stones.
The Stones. Okay.
Yeah. So I would like to see the Sweet Inspirations on Atlantic, because they did some recordings up there. Solomon Brook, and also like Job also pointed out, Stax, because Atlantic bought Stax, and so some Isaac Hayes, some Dave and I forgot what was Dave and Sam.
Sam and Dave.
So that would be great to see some of these recordings. Absolutely.
Sorry, I have to take this because Freddy is playing with this. Could you hear it in the stream? Oh, aber leise. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. But Nadine, how big are the chances? Do they fit the criteria? Successful, great sounding?
That depends on the condition of the tape and what you're able to make out of it. But so I don't know about that, but I don't think that the Sweet Inspirations will be done. I don't think that Solomon Brook will be done. I don't think that Stax material will be done. But that would be, once again, a good idea for a new series, like the Atlantic Soul. Yeah. I'm willing to help. Just let me know.
I would love to see this. You know, maybe when people now get into those soul audiophile reissues, maybe they all of a sudden discover how amazingly beautiful those albums are, and maybe they want more. The chances are good.
We hope.
Stunty.
Yeah, so I have a few
now.
I have a few choices that I think Nadine will agree with some. The Sam Dees, The Show Must Go On, which I think is a wonderful funk soul record that hasn't been reissued that many times, I think. Also, I think it's a great sounding record, really. It's the Midnight Rhythm album. It's a disco, very electronic disco album on Atlantic that I don't know if you're familiar with it, Nadine?
Yes.
With the song Working Slave in, that is amazing. It would be glorious to have that on. And there's the Freddie Hubbard album, Sing Me a Song Song My, featuring Ilan Mimaroglu. It's one of the greatest avant-garde jazz records ever. That record was very popular. It was they did quite a few reissues throughout the time, and when it was released, it was very successful. It sold a lot. It's not a typical Freddie Hubbard record. It got sampled so many times. It's beautiful. You can still find the original for an affordable price, and because of the nature of the recording, of course, it would be amazing to have a great sounding recording of that, because there is some electroacoustic elements to that, and it was carefully recorded at the Columbia, at the Princeton University studio, and then I think Full Moon by Brandy. I would I would actually like to. No, seriously, I think it's a great R&B album from
There's
the
so
early
many
2000s.
great R&B albums out there, Stunty. You're so right, which absolutely need a reissue, like En Vogue and some other groups out there. That would be great, yeah.
So you're quite online with my picks, Nadine.
Yes, next to the avant-garde jazz thing, the rest I'm totally agreeing with you.
Oh, that one you would love actually, Nadine, because it has a silver cover.
Like running with the pack.
Okay, now I mute Stunty. I'm very sorry. Don't get that wrong, please. And because David now gets his second chance. And careful, face value, Phil Collins is on the list.
Thank you. Appreciate that. No, I'm going to go backwards a bit. I think they missed some earlier stuff, like the Drifters and Barbara Mason are two that I think have not been done very much. And I would love to see hers especially.
Okay, nice take. So Nadine is looking.
What do you got,
for-
Nadine? Yes. I love Barbara Mason. Yeah.
You are
Okay,
so I totally
Nadine
forgot about her.
seems to like her too.
Yes, Barbara Mason.
Yeah. Yeah, they could even do like an album that has Barbara on one side and Drifters on the other, and they'd have, their core hits.
Jimi Hendrix and Otis Redding, I think they did that as well.
Yeah.
I just noticed that Bruno Mars and Ed Sheeran are listed as big selling Atlantic artists as well. So
Yeah, Ed Sheeran for sure, and Bruno. Yeah, that's
They fit some criterias, right?
definitely newer.
I wouldn't
that would
know.
be- but that would be.
They also don't fit a lot of criterias.
Yeah, for you, Stunty. But you play them every time on your stream on Friday. So what? Okay. Who would have thought that we talk about, yes, Genesis, Bad Company, so many soul titles when it comes to a huge analog production announcement? I would have not, but I remember, I think I did a stream with Chet in November or December last year when he said there will be a big announcement. Almost 1 year later, now we have it. I think this is a huge day for all people who love audiophile reissues. And now we know it. Now we know what the huge announcement was about. Finally.
He doesn't have to answer that question anymore.
Anymore. Yeah, but still, he will be on my channel tomorrow evening. He will,
Okay.
of course, go deeper. He will answer all your questions in the way Chat answer those questions. I hope you attend. I hope you join. Think of some questions. And thank you all for this. Thank you for taking part of this. George, Nadine, Thomas, David, Liam,
Thank you.
Stunty, all in the gallery. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow when you have the time.
Yeah. Thanks,
Yes,
Michael.
thanks for
Take
having
care,
us.
everybody. Take care.